Anybody like Riverdale? I heard a couple people. Anybody like Riverdale? Yeah, all right. Well, let us welcome to the stage Veronica Lodge, Camila Mendes. There she is. How you doing?
Hi.
So good to see you.
Good to see you.
Join me.
Ooh.
What fun. So you're just fresh back in the States, where you were in Brazil, right?
I was in Brazil for like 4 days to see my fam.
And how is the family? How's everybody doing?
Oh, they're great. All my cousins are growing up so fast, and I'm missing all of it. It's sad.
You probably, I mean, the schedule that you guys have on a show like Riverdale, you probably don't get to do a lot of fun travel. When was the last time you were in Brazil?
3 years ago. Yeah.
So what did the family say to you?
Oh, they're like so supportive. I mean, they've been like watching my show ever since it came out, and so, you know, my cousins are like teenagers, so all of their friends are watching the show, and they're like, we saw on Instagram that Camila got her Brazilian passport. Is she going to Brazil? When is she going? Is she staying with you? Like, they've been. And while I was there, there were like fans showing up at my aunt's house. We don't even know how they found out where she lives.
Really?
They were like ringing the intercom, like, "Is Camila home?"
And and when they finally get to be face to face with you, is there typical questions that they ask? Do they expect you to be a lot like Veronica?
My family?
No.
The fans.
The buzzers.
Oh, the buzzers, yes. I don't know what they expect, but I don't think I'm very much like Veronica as a person.
Right.
So I do think to an extent some people are surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. You guys tell me.
Well, one of the things that's fascinating is you look back on the history of the IP, of the concept with Archie comics, such a long history, decades and decades. What a fresh and unexpected take Riverdale is. When you first came to the project, when you first came aware of it, did you go back and look at the Archie comics and did you kind of scratch your head and say, I'm not sure how this is going to work, or did you get it right away?
Yeah, well, as soon as I got the audition, I had to do my research, so I kind of knew what world I was walking into. And then when I did read the comics, I quickly realized that it wasn't very much like the script that I had read. Sure. But it's still such a great foundation for building the character because, I mean, just the fact that it's drawn, so much character is told through the details of the drawing, you know?
Absolutely.
And the
body
way,
language.
and the body language, I think that was kind of the biggest takeaway, the way that they dress. You know, with Veronica, a lot of the time she would have music notes next to her bubbles, so it was kind of showing that she sings songs a little bit, and those details were definitely useful in building the character, but I think at one point we just kind of let it go and understood that this show is separate from the comics, it's just based off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, right from the get-go, it developed a persona of its own, and that rhythm, it's grown and evolved. And it's a great show. You know, congratulations on the great success. Yeah, you can cheer for that. One of the things that is great is the steamy stuff. I guess, yeah, I think people really like that. Especially the first episode of the second season.
Yes.
You must have heard a lot about that.
It was literally steamy.
It was very, very steamy. Well, let's watch it. No, just joking.
Oh my. And we have a clip.
Well, talk a little bit about that and the reaction from fans, and just also a little bit about the esprit de corps with the cast. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think the steamy parts of Riverdale kind of balance out all the darkness. I think that's like where we really get to have fun and make it a little lighter, right? And fresh. So those scenes are always fun. Also, you know, at this point, like KJ and I, we are so used to doing scenes like that. So we already have a system and like we like talk about everything and like we've noticed patterns. Like I always take the top of his lips. Like we just like know what we do now, and it gets more and more familiar.
You go left, he goes right.
Right, exactly. But you know, it's those scenes are super choreographed.
Right.
You have to no one actually gracefully walks into a room while closing their eyes, making out, and like somehow lands on the bed softly and twirls around, and like that never happens in real life. So it takes a lot of conversation and a lot of takes to get it right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And the comfort level, I imagine at this point, you guys are just, is everybody pretty much pals? Everybody gets along pretty
Oh
well?
yes, they're like family to me, honestly. Like, and everyone's so different. We all kind of fill out these different roles. And sometimes the dynamic very much mirrors the dynamic of the show, which is really interesting. I don't know if it's just a personality thing or we just start to adapt to the characters we play. Yeah, exactly. Life imitating art. But no, they're great. It's like you can't get that bond anywhere else. Like when you create something together, and also most of us, I think besides Cole, in terms of the younger actors in the cast, this was our first big break, so experiencing the growth of the show together has really bonded us. And even for Cole, I mean, he grew a lot through this experience as well, so that really brought us together.
And let's see, when you started in 2016 on the show, is that right?
Sorry?
2016, is that when
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yes.
So, and before that, you would have been at NYU.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, NYU, I mean, I'm so grateful for that experience because I actually wanted to go to the West Coast, but I didn't get into any of the schools on the West Coast. So I ended up at NYU, which I'm not complaining about. It was it's still a good school to go to.
The Tisch School is a fantastic.
Yeah, and the Tisch has such a good reputation. But at one point I did want to drop out. I remember after the first year I told my dad I did. And then he sat me down and he was like, going to college isn't just about pursuing your career. It's also this period of time where you can explore your interests and just be enlightened and learn and grow. So he kind of preached that side of education and going to school. And he just told me to tough it out and keep going. So then, because as a young actor, you really start to feel like you're losing time.
Right.
Because there's kids who start when they're 5 years old. And I'm like paying all this money to go to college when I could be working and actually building a resume and experience. So I ended up getting an agent my junior year. I interned at a talent agency, like a really small one, and kind of built a really close relationship with them. And by the end, I asked them if they would audition me. And so they were like, yeah, of course. And then they signed me and I started auditioning. And like for a year, I was, getting a few callbacks here and there, but Riverdale was the first like big bite. And it worked out perfectly because I had been planning to graduate a semester early. So when I finished classes was right when I started testing for Riverdale. Okay. And then I just went from finishing school to shooting the pilot. Wow. So the timing of it was really perfect. I mean, if I hadn't graduated a semester early, I would have had to drop out of school at the very end of it to shoot the show. And I don't think I would have gone back because there wouldn't have been time.
Right. And if you had a long lag time in between, maybe it wouldn't have helped. You might have lost some of the fresh energy.
Exactly.
Overthink it. Oh, that's interesting. That's great advice that your dad gave you, too.
I know, yeah. And it was. Like, I did obviously learn a lot about theater and the art and everything, but I learned so much more about myself through that experience.
Yeah, I think people, we've come in this country to really view college as an economic tool. Like it's something that's supposed to set you up. You do this, then you get this job. But, if you look back over the history, higher education in this country, for many, many decades, it was just an enriching experience. And people would actually go a little later in life.
Totally.
And it was more about making themselves a better person. So.
Yeah, like realizing your identity and being the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in South Florida. I grew up in South Florida.
I know.
That's
you're from
awesome.
Broward County, I hear.
Yes, I'm Broward County. You were at American Heritage, right?
I went to American Heritage,
That's a good school.
It is a good school. My mom put me there because they had a really good arts program.
Yeah.
They had a beautiful theater. I mean, their theater was nicer than my theater at NYU. NYU didn't even really have a theater, which is weird, but...
Yeah.
I guess no one wants to go see an NYU show when there's like Broadway and everything.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
Yeah,
competition.
exactly.
When you think back on South Florida, this might be kind of a goofy question, but is there something about the place that you lived and the experience you had in South Florida that you see kind of in your life now that stays with you? Some part of South Florida that you,
That stays with me.
yeah, it's part of your personality.
I don't think South Florida ever leaves you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting question because growing up in South Florida was a different experience altogether. And every time I meet someone from there, there's like this shared bond. I don't know what it is, but I think there's a little bit of, you have to be a little crazy to be from South Florida. Like
It's the humidity, I think.
It's the humidity and the fact that like everyone goes there to party, you know, like Miami is like this party city. So I think as a kid, you pick that up early on. Yeah. I just remember kids were doing a lot of stuff really early.
That's right.
And then when I went to college, like all of our friends, like because me and some of my close friends from South Florida went to NYU as well. So when we got there, like they all thought we were crazy.
Sure.
And we were like the good kids in high school, so it was just kind of like, what is happening here?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I think there's a little bit of South Florida in me. I don't really know how to answer that question.
No, that's okay. It's a weird question.
Yeah.
One of the things that you've done, you're so successful on social media. I mean, like you're a monster on social media. How many, like Instagram and Twitter?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. That must be an interesting thing. And I've seen you joke that some of the people on Twitter, they think that your account is actually not you. They think it's a...
Yeah,
Could you explain that real
ship
quick?
account. Well, because my name is Camila Mendes, and there's Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes. And I guess people really want those two people to date, so they've created like, you know, their ship accounts and stuff. So basically everyone thinks my Twitter is a fan account for those two people dating.
So you could really wreck their lives, or...
I know. Well, both of them have been made aware of it, and Shawn, I met Shawn once and we joked about it. And I know Camila like talked about it in interviews, so they're aware of the situation, and everyone just thinks it's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. And you know, you've spoken out about body issues, and also you did a wonderful photo shoot for People, I believe, makeup free, and looked absolutely lovely doing
Thank
it.
you.
As a father of a daughter, and as a brother, and as a son, I love seeing women grab onto those identity issues and make them their own. So. Maybe you could talk like there's a lot of young women here today.
There
Maybe a
are
little bit about that.
a lot of young, beautiful women in here, and men. Yeah, I just think, you know, I didn't always. There was never, before all of the, you know, the show and the success and everything, I'd always told myself if I ever did make it, like I was like just gonna stick to being an artist. Like I didn't want to like use my voice for anything. Like I just wanted to do what I love and like leave me alone on everything else. But then I think with our following and realizing how many young women were looking up to me in a sense, I kind of felt this immediate responsibility. Like I had to speak on something, you know, and like use that influence. But I've always wanted it to be authentic and something that feels real to me. And that's always been a really big issue for me, is body image issues. So then, I don't know, it just kind of came organically, and I started speaking about it and sharing my story, because in sharing my own story, I think by publicizing that, it's almost therapeutic for me as well. You know, I think it's like you're letting go of something and you're putting it out there in the world. The more you hold on to things and hide, the more you're encouraging this idea of being shameful about it.
Absolutely.
So I think by letting it out, I just started to let go, and I think I've bonded with so many people already ever since I did come out about my issues. And, you know, even 2 days ago on the plane, it was a lovely experience. This young, well, she wasn't young, she was 20. She's like close to my age, but still. This young girl, she came up to me, you know, and she was a fan of the show, and then she started talking about me and Lily and how we often talk about body positivity and the Cosmo Philippines Photoshops thing that happened. And we sat next to each other on the plane, and we just started talking for like 3 hours, and she told me her whole story, where she had been, she used to be like 320 pounds, and then she had to get surgery, and she lost 130, but like after surgery, that's when she developed the eating disorder because she was so scared of gaining all the weight back. And anyway, my point is that we shared these like 3 hours on the plane of just constant conversation, and I like really felt like I like absorbed her soul, and it was, it's all because I've like spoken about it, that people can come up to me and share their story, and then I feel like this is why I speak about things. And I think even regardless of whether you're famous or a public figure, if you're just, a private person, when you do talk about things, you'll create a bond with someone, and that is where change will happen for you.
Absolutely. Approaching the world with an open heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Is a hard thing to do, and celebrity can set people up, and set them up for a fall too. But it sets them apart. But one of the great things about social media, I think, is it also opens up these lines of communication, and for people like yourself that have an open heart, they can lead to things like that, which is pretty extraordinary.
It is. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And it'd be a shame not to use that influence or that platform.
It takes some courage too.
Yeah.
That's so good on you. As far as one of the episodes, the musical episode, tell us a little bit about that. That, it seems like everybody has to have this rite of passage of a musical episode for shows that reach a certain audience. And what a great tradition it's become. But I imagine for some of the actors, it's terrifying.
It was really terrifying for some of them. Cole got away easy because he's just like, I'm never going to sing for you guys. But I think it was kind of amazing just how much everyone rose to the occasion. I mean, KJ, I could not stop laughing that whole week of shooting because he just went full throttle musical theater. Like he had this alter ego named Fifi.
Did you say Fifi?
Fifi.
Just wanted to make sure you said Fifi.
Yeah, Fifi. He named her Fifi. It was Fiona, but Fifi for short. Yeah. And Fifi was like an incredible dancer and like really judgy and sassy. And I think we all just had fun with it. I mean, how often do you get to do a musical episode? Some of us sing, some of us don't, but everyone just decided to make it fun. Otherwise, I think we would have gone insane because shooting that episode was long and hard. Because it's like you get the same amount of time you do for any other episode, but you're like singing and dancing and you have these big musical numbers. So it was really chaotic, but because we made it fun, I think you can kind of see that when you watch it, Everyone's just having a good time.
I'm sure you have a lot of stage work in your background. I'm not sure how much of it was musical.
Yeah, a lot of, high school I did a lot of musical theater. I didn't do any in college. I've always just preferred like straight acting. Sure. But yeah, I did like sing and dance in high school and stuff. So that was fun, like bringing back that skill that had been lying dormant for so long. It was fun.
And being on stage, and not necessarily musical, just drama, that's such a different experience for an actor, with the audience and with the high wire act of it. You can't do reshoots, but you also have a lot more control over the finished product.
Totally.
Than you do for screen. Maybe talk a little bit about how you feel about both and how your stage experience makes you a better screen actor.
Yeah. I was actually just talking about this with my family in Brazil. They were asking me if I miss theater, and I do, because it's, you get 2 months or whatever of rehearsal, and you really get to polish it until you feel so good about it. You've done all the work, and then you can just let it go. And then when you show up on stage, you know that you know the play like the back of your hand. You don't have to think so much about it. You just perform. And, like standing on this stage right now, there's like so many lights. I mean, normally in theater, there'd be way stronger lights, and you can't even see the audience sometimes. And this stage is your bubble. No one can mess with your bubble. There's no camera right there in your face screwing up your reality or your perception of reality.
15 people right behind the camera.
Yeah, exactly. So you really get the space to perform and live in that world that you've created for yourself. But in film, there's just, in TV, there's just no, there are no boundaries. Everyone's everywhere, and you can't. It's really hard to build that world and that feeling of privacy. So, and also, in film and TV, you don't get to rehearse ever. Like the rehearsal is something you do, like an hour before.
Craft services.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like you go right before you finish hair and makeup. You show up and you do a quick blocking. It's just to show where we're gonna move. But in terms of, an emotional rehearsal, you don't really get that. Film, you do sometimes. I mean, it depends on the project, but at least on our show, we just, we get one quick rehearsal. And the real rehearsal comes with doing many takes. And then eventually by the end, you have it perfect, but you only got one take of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like sculpting.
Yeah, it is
you're
like sculpting
to get to that final version.
Exactly. So, for me, it's always like, I wish I had more of that time to prepare. I very much love preparation. I love having time to let things sink in so that I can let it go and just live in that moment. And I don't get that on the show, but that's been challenging in its own way because then I'm thinking about a million things while trying to, making sure your head's turned perfectly in the right light, and making sure you tilt your head right when the camera starts to pan. Like, it's just, there's so many technical things to think about.
Take you out of the moment.
And it takes you out of the moment. And, like, maybe it's a really emotional scene, and you have to be focused on that, but you can't because you're thinking about all these other things. So that can be quite frustrating, but also incredibly challenging, and I've already grown so much from working on the show.
That's great. And one of the things that Veronica Lodge has on the screen but didn't have in the comics is her heritage.
Yeah.
She's a Latina.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. That was a great addition, and I think it was right from the beginning, if I remember right, that we knew that. What does that mean to you, and is that something that you think a lot about?
Yeah, I do. I was so excited when I found out they were making her Latina. And that's actually when I called my agents and I was like, I need to be in this audition. Because before I thought they were going to go in a different direction. I think the first breakdown, I don't know that she was Latina, I can't remember, but I thought it was going to be more like a Kristen Ritter type, like just pale with black hair the way Veronica is in the comics. Right. And then when they said they were making her Latina, I was like, wait, no, this could actually be me. I could actually play this role. So I got super excited. And then in working on it, I've just realized how powerful it is to be portraying that kind of family as Latinos. Like we're wealthy, we're powerful, we're sophisticated, very intelligent, and determined and hard workers. There is a little bit of the corruption aspect of it, so but I think it's still heading in the right direction.
Well, it's a fully formed.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
not just defined by what they eat or the music they listen to.
Totally, and they, and we speak a little Spanish here and there, but that's not the point of
That's right.
of it at all.
It's three-dimensional.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's even just strong enough just to have a family there of people with tanner skin and darker hair. I think that's already very strong.
If you were at a coffee shop and Veronica Lodge walked in and sat down next to you and you had a moment to chat with her, maybe give her some advice, maybe ask her a question, maybe tell her to calm down about something, what would you say to Veronica Lodge, your character, if you've had a moment?
I would tell her not to I'd tell her to learn how to separate herself from her family and understand that just because you were raised by these two people doesn't mean you're just like them. You have control over the decisions you make, and you are your own person.
That's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 microphones here. We're going to take some questions from the audience, if that sounds good. There's one over here and there's one there, and they're marked with yellow tape. We're awfully happy to see you all, so let's see if we have some good questions. Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, my name is Conrad, and I'm from Mount Lake Terrace. By the way, Camila, you're my favorite actress in the world. This is my first time doing a panel, so I'm holding my breath. Anyways, what was your favorite episode in Riverdale?
My favorite episode, like watching or working on?
How about both?
How about both?
Both. Working on was definitely the season finale of season 1. Because shooting the snow sequence, like all of that running through the snow and saving Cheryl, that was it was just one of those moments where I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of these snowy mountains. It's just like this film crew of a few people, like these little black dots in all of the snow, and it was beautiful. And I was like, I'll never do this again. I'll never run through like 6 feet of snow as fast as I'm running right now.
Easy to get lost in that moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. That moment I definitely got lost in because they couldn't get close to us. They were really far away. So that was really fun. And then my favorite show, or my favorite episode that I've watched, I loved episode 4 of season 2, the Red Circle episode.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just like really well structured, and there's a lot of
Very
drama.
satisfying.
Yeah, exactly.
All the dots connect really well. It's a great question. Thanks a lot, and you did very
Thank you.
well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Keep breathing.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you from?
Are we going over there? Or...
I'm sorry. What's your name? Where are you from? I forgot. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name's Emma, and so first of all, before the question, my sister and my friend Abby weren't able to make it, so can you say hi to them?
What are their names again?
Kylie and Abby.
Hi, Kylie and Abby.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted to know, what do you think was the hardest episode to film?
The hardest episode to film. The musical was hard, but I feel like that's a question like emotionally challenging. I'd say episode 9 of season 1. I think it was the first time I'd ever like broken down on screen and like really cried hysterically in front of the camera. So that was just challenging for me as an actor. Yeah, and then the musical one was harder in terms of workload. Yeah.
Was it harder to watch that one too?
Harder to watch.
Watch the emotional breakdown when you finally watched.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, it's like, it's funny because, you know, I think this is gonna sound weird, but like when white people cry, they get way redder. Do you know what I mean? Like their like face gets flushed, but when I cry, my face doesn't really like change. Like you don't see it as much. And so like I remember being like so hysterical in that moment, and then when I watched it, I was like, it doesn't even look like I'm crying. Like I was like so upset with myself, but whatever.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What's your name?
Isabella.
Hey, it's Bella. Welcome.
My question is, how do you think the Archie comics have influenced Riverdale?
Well, they've definitely, I mean, they're the foundation of Riverdale, but I think we really try to keep the comic book feel of Archie comics in Riverdale, not necessarily the slapstick aspect of it, but we try to keep almost like the way that comic books feel kind of staged and choreographed. I think we kind of like to keep little vignettes in Riverdale. Though in our shots, they're very like symmetrical and clean and perfect, and it feels very fictional, if that makes sense.
Yeah, staged.
Yeah, staged and choreographed. I think that's where we get our comic book inspiration.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you don't have thought balloons.
Yeah.
Because that'd be a bit much.
I would love an episode where
That
we're
would be
just
great.
talking about bubbles.
Maybe that could happen. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? I think we're back here.
Oh, something else though. I just remembered.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I remembered Roberto, our showrunner. We kept asking him, we're like, why do we always say each other's names like a million times? Like every other sentence, I'm calling Archie Archie. Yeah. I'm like, Archie, I don't understand. And he's like, Veronica. And I'm like, but Archie. And we just always call each other by our names. And
Comics, they do that nonstop.
yeah, and then we asked Roberto, we're like, why do we do that? And he said they do it on purpose because in comic books, they constantly refer to their names. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's just another aspect to keep it in that world.
I think in the comics it's because if you have 3 people in a panel, you have to do that so you know who.
So who's who and who's talking? Yeah, exactly.
And for the young readers, it reminds them again and
Yeah.
again of their name. I think we're on this side. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I just want to say I love you so much, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's sweet. Where are you from?
Love you too.
I'm from Seattle.
Let's hear it for her, everybody. You get a clap for that.
And my question was, if you could change one decision Veronica has made thus far in the show, what would it be and why?
Ooh. I would have beaten up Nick St. Clair way earlier.
Nice.
Thank you.
No
Terrific.
problem.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi.
Hi.
Me, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Amanda.
Welcome.
First, I would like to say you are so beautiful, and we love you, and we love your show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My question is, what's your suggestion for high school kids want to go to Tisch next year?
That wants to go to Tisch?
Tisch,
Yeah,
the
next
Tisch school
year. Yeah, for next year.
for NYU.
Yeah. What's your suggestion?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. NYU's hard to get into, but I think don't underestimate the power of good grades. I think that's because the power of good grades. I mean, you know, even though you are applying to a drama program, they still really look at your why am I forgetting your
Academic
transcript? Yeah.
focus, yeah.
Keeping like a lot of extracurriculars, showing that you're a well-rounded person, a strong personal essay. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm just like saying the obvious things, but if I knew why I got into NYU, I'd tell you, but I really don't.
Well, it's a good thing, though, because a lot of folks would focus on the performing arts.
Yeah.
And think, well, you know, my science and math grades aren't going to matter as much, but
Definitely.
strong academic focus shows that you can handle the workload at Tisch and that you're going to
Yeah, and just, you know, being prepared in your audition and making sure they're, you know, they have their contemporary monologue and their dramatic monologue and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Thank you so much.
So I'm sorry if that wasn't good enough.
Oh, that's very good, very good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Olivia. I'm from south of Seattle, and I just want to say I love you a lot.
Oh, thanks.
And my question is, what character traits do you think you share with Veronica?
That's a good question. I think I'm pretty, like, I have an outward confidence. I think it's more like self-assured.
Sense of self.
I feel like really weird saying that about myself. But yeah, I think a sense of self or like knowing what I want, and I'm very like clear about what I want, and I think Veronica's always been like that. She's very determined and goes after the things she wants.
She's not meek.
No.
There's not a lot of meekness there. Hi there, Spidey. Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, what have you learned from playing a character like Veronica? Like a lesson that you can bring through, like throughout your life, or advice you have for others?
That's interesting because you put a lot of yourself into her, but what does she put back into you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember thinking about that towards the end of season 2 because I feel like Veronica's really inspiring in the way that she defends people. I think she's really loyal to her friends, and she'd do anything to protect them. And I think there's this like selflessness about her. Even though we all want to say that she's the opposite, I feel like you want her to be the opposite in a way, because that's how she was in the comics. But in Riverdale, she's actually very selfless and kind. And so I think I've kind of tried to take that on myself by being fiercely protective and loyal to my friends.
I know when I was a kid and people would talk about Archie comics, if you would describe someone as a Betty or as a Veronica, the Veronica would just be mean.
Yeah, Veronica would be like manipulative
Yeah.
and backstabbing, but no, Riverdale Veronica is not like
Yeah,
that.
and it would have made it a lot less interesting, I think.
Yeah,
if
totally.
she was less nuanced.
I think it'd be hard for her to be a lead character if she were like that,
Yeah,
because
she'd
no
just
one
be-
would like her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you root against her the whole
exactly.
time. Absolutely.
Thank you.
No
Hey,
problem.
thanks so much. Hi, how you doing? Where are you from?
Hi.
I'm Serena. I was
Hi.
just wondering.
Serena Vanderwoodson.
No. I was just wondering, how far do you think Verona would go just to kind of stop Hiram and help Archie?
I think at this point, I mean, going into season 3, I don't think anything's going to stop her, because he just kind of like that was the last straw for her was sending Archie to jail. Well, I assume he sent her to jail.
Right.
We don't actually know yet what happened.
Unless we do.
Unless we do. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that would stop her. I think Veronica really has a really strong bond with her mom, even though there's a lot of conflict between them. I think if it came to her mom's life being threatened, I think that's where she would stop. I think she would protect her mom in the end.
Thank you.
No
So
problem.
again, it comes back to loyalty.
Yeah.
Loyalty and sense of focus.
Yeah.
Captain, how are you?
Good.
What's your name, sir?
Josh,
Welcome.
Hi, Josh.
I actually have 2 questions.
Oh, that's going to be extra.
How does the cast feel about not being able to cross over with Sabrina?
Sorry?
How does the cast feel not being able to cross over with Sabrina?
Oh, about not being able to cross over?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that they've decided that.
I'm Netflix picked it up.
I think it would make sense for Riverdale to go to Sabrina, but not the other way around, because then that'd be bringing magic into Riverdale, which
Would stay.
that would just make Riverdale more absurd than it already is. We don't need that. But I think we could go to Greendale and visit Sabrina. I don't think it's out of the question, but who knows?
Yeah. And you had a second question.
Yeah. Because, since Archie is a subsidiary of DC, are you guys part of the multiverse?
Is it part of the DC universe? There's never been an indication that it is.
I don't think so.
And Archie, in the comics, rarely meets superheroes. It
Yeah.
has happened a couple times. I think it's one of those things that it's not in the DNA of the show.
Yeah.
But you never know.
But you never know.
Neither is singing and dancing. So
I mean, we're all superheroes on Riverdale.
I would never bet against these cats. That's for sure.
Like the scenes where we're running and we slip as we're, you know
That's
what I
pretty
mean?
good.
It's very, or maybe that's more Scooby-Doo than it is superheroes, but yeah.
Yeah, super spy.
Super spy.
Super spy. Thank you for those questions, sir. Hi, how are you? Where are you from, and what's your name?
I'm Brittany, and I'm from Seattle. Basically.
Sure.
My question is, if you could play any other character on Riverdale, which would you play?
Archie?
No, not Archie. I think Jughead.
Yeah.
I love brooding.
You love what?
I love brooding.
Yeah.
I think Jughead would be a really fun role. Yeah.
Jughead all day. There you go. Hey there, how are you? What's your name and where are you from?
Hey, I'm Giselle. I'm from Vancouver, BC, and
Welcome.
I just want to say it was good to see you again, Camila. I don't know if you remember me, but I saw you back in January, and I was wearing the same top.
Oh my gosh, River Vixen.
Yay! Let's say season 3 too. This is a very tall mic. My question for you is, how many Lily Thin Mints can you eat in one sitting without her walking in on you?
Oh gosh, I could eat a whole box.
Do you like to freeze them?
What?
You should freeze them.
She puts them in
Yeah,
the fridge. There's one
always.
in the fridge and there's one in the pantry. I just pick the one that'll looks the fullest so that it won't be obvious that I've eaten them.
It's very sneaky.
Yeah.
How many ever she brings home, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that they put the word thin right in the name.
I know. It's deceiving.
It is.
I thought I was gonna lose weight.
I still love you. It's okay.
Thank you very much. Hi, how are you? And where are you from? And what's your name?
Hello, my name is Leia, and I'm from Vancouver, Washington.
Oh, the other Vancouver.
My question is, did you have a backup plan for acting, or was it your main goal?
That's a good question. I did not. I never allowed myself to create a backup plan in my head. Also, I'm not good at anything else, so I really didn't know what I would do. So I kind of told myself I have to be an actor because I have no other skills.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that question.
Problem.
How's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Aliana, and I'm from the Philippines.
Welcome.
Cool.
And yeah, hi. Sorry about this, but just a favor first. Can you say hi to my friend Aldrin?
Aldrin?
Yeah,
Did I say it right?
yeah.
Hi, Aldrin.
All right. Here's my question. choose who Veronica will have a relationship with in Riverdale, who would you choose and why?
Who she have a relationship with?
Except Archie.
Besides Archie.
Besides Archie, yeah.
I think Reggie. I could see Veronica and Reggie. Do you guys like that? Are you supportive of that? Okay, cool. I'll let Roberto know.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
That's a great question. Thanks a lot. A lot of fun. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing really well. We're having a great time. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Alexa, and I'm from Richland, Washington.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh, my heart is racing.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you wear it well. You wear it well.
Thank you. I try. So I was wondering how playing the role of Veronica Lodge has impacted you as a person.
Like as her character or just the experience of being on the show?
Both.
Both. Gotta make me do extra work. Oh, yeah. I think as a character, again, I think going back to what we were talking about before, the idea of being loyal and fiercely protecting the ones I love. Also, because something I've like really started to think about with Veronica, like how much of a young entrepreneur she is. Like she's going to be very successful because she knows what she wants and she works really hard to go after it. And I think I'm interested to see in season 3 because her dad has cut her off and she's going to have to fend for herself and work on her own without daddy's money. So I think that'll make her grow in ways we didn't expect. And in terms of the experience, I think I've learned how to just like realize my worth and speaking up on anything. Like when we're shooting, I used to be really shy and kind of disagreeing with people. Like whatever the director said, I would just be like, yeah. And through playing Veronica, I've just really started to get to know her. And you know, we have different directors every episode, and at this point, we almost know the characters better than anyone else. So I've learned how to just kind of use that voice and be like, no, I think Veronica would actually do this, and I think she's going to do this, and trusting that like my opinion matters, because your intuition speaks volumes, and I know when it feels right with Veronica.
Wow, that's really a great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, good question.
That's interesting because you do need to be protective because if the character is all over the place and inconsistent,
totally,
it reflects on your performance, it reflects on the character, and you're the one constant.
Yeah, and that's a kind of like your job as an actor is to be the representative for your character, like their own lawyer in a way. Like you just have to defend them and justify everything they do, no matter how bad they are. If they're the villain in the show, you still have to give them the justification and the reasoning behind what they do.
Because if not, you can never have the authentic moment.
Totally.
If you can't be authentic, if you don't authentically think she would do something, you can't be authentic in that portrayal.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's really well done. Well said.
Thanks.
How you doing? What's your name?
My name's Alex.
Where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Heard of it.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Camila, first things first, I want to say you're a very fantastic performer, and
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to see you. What are some of your favorite things about filming in Vancouver and the Riverdale being your first major role? Is there a special feel that you have for the city since that's where it films?
Oh, that's a good question. Vancouver, yes, it'll definitely have a soft spot in my heart forever. I love shooting there because I feel incredibly focused when I'm there. Because, I mean, it's a pretty quiet city. It's kind of like people say, yeah, it shuts down early. It's like metropolitan, but it's also like a small town. So you kind of get a little bit of both. And when I'm there, I feel like I'm at peace in a way. Like I'm just focused. I'm working. I feel healthier. I'm getting like fresh air every day. Like, you know, I think there's just it's like a different life. And it's not LA or New York. It's not crazy the way those two cities are. So I feel like I can actually focus on my art. And what was your second question?
What are some of your favorite things about the city? Like things to do?
Oh, well, that was that question. Oh. What was the other one?
Oh, it was sorry. It was like if there was a special connection that you have that you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, also because that's kind of where, I mean, I remember we all stayed at the Sutton Place Hotel, which is like it's where everyone stays when they're working in Vancouver. So every time I go there, it's just like, and there's like a scent when you walk into the Sutton Place. They have like this scent that they use. And every time I walk in, it just brings me back to shooting the pilot. Because, you know, we have so many memories. Like the first time I met Lily and Madeleine was at the hot tub at the Sutton. And, you know, like now that place will always be cemented as the place where I met Lily and Madeleine.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
I've been on set of many shows up in Vancouver,
Yeah.
probably 6 or 7, and you're right. A show that's shooting in Los Angeles feels like, you feel like, wow, this is something that's happening in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
When you're on a set
It's more
in
every
Vancouver,
day in LA too.
Yeah, you feel like that's why you're there.
Yeah.
It feels
'Cause it
very
is.
inclusive, like
Yeah.
like in a bubble.
It is a bubble.
Yeah.
Oh, it is 100% a bubble.
So, hey, how are you?
Hi,
It's a beautiful dress. What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Gabriella, and I'm from Olympia, Washington.
Welcome.
And I'm a huge fan of all the fashion on Riverdale. I love like your outfits and Cheryl's outfits. I was wondering if you had a favorite piece or an outfit that you've worn, and if you get to keep any of the costumes that you wear. Or the
Great
outfits
question.
That you wear.
That is a good question. My favorite outfit that I've worn so far was probably in episode 2 of season 1. It's the one that they use on the Funko Pop. It's like it's a Ted Baker dress. The one, do you know? It's like the Wednesday Addams one.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of her looks look like Wednesday Addams, but yeah, I think you know which one I'm talking about, maybe. So that one was my favorite because it just feels so quintessential Veronica. And then in terms of, we don't really get to keep anything because one, they might need it for a future episode if we're doing a flashback sequence, so they have to like hold on to things. Maybe when we wrap the show officially, maybe they'll give us stuff. And you know, sometimes they like hook it up if you ask them. What?
Yeah.
Did you?
You don't want to say that out loud.
Yeah, I can't really talk about it.
You can't really talk about that. She can't talk about that.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Find me later.
Thank you.
That's great. And what about magazine shoots? You've done a number of fashion magazines and things like that.
Sometimes they let you keep stuff. A lot of the times they're samples and they have to be returned.
Sure.
Because they're not like out in the world yet.
That must be fun experience.
It is fun. But it's also like,
you're not a huge
I'm not gonna like wear Veronica's clothes or like I'm not gonna wear the clothes I wore in a photo shoot out because it's like already photographed and like I feel like it'd be, you know.
Walk around with the
You
magazine.
can't wear the same thing once or twice.
Walk around holding the magazine while you're wearing the outfit.
Yeah. Remember this?
So I forgot, which side are we on? This side. Hi.
Hi, my name's Lanice,
Hi.
and I just want to say that you're very beautiful.
Thank you.
And my question is, if you could switch a role with any other cast member, who would it be and why?
Yeah, I think Jughead. But like, I can say a different one this time.
Sure.
I'm gonna say Betty this time. I always say a different person. I think there isn't one role I wouldn't want to try. But I like that Betty's a tortured soul. I think that's always fun for an actor to play the tortured one.
Thanks so much.
Or maybe the Black Hood.
What's that?
I'd love to play the Black Hood. That'd be an easy job. Show up, just cover yourself in all black.
Who am I?
Just, you don't have to memorize any lines.
I think you got something there. I think that should be a good one. Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. We're having a great time. What's your name?
Julie,
And where are you from, Yuli?
Seattle.
This is
Lots
your
of
hometown.
Seattle.
Yeah. Well, we're having a great time in your hometown. Do you have a question?
Yes.
What's your question?
If you were the Black Hood, who would you kill?
Ooh, who would I kill?
Straight to the chase.
Straight to the chase. I have to like get in the mind of a serial killer real quick. Let me think. 'Cause he hates sinners. I feel like why hasn't he killed Hiram, you know? Hiram's a sinner. Maybe I'd kill Hiram. I'd kill Daddy.
On the clock. Hiram is on the clock.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's a great question. Thanks for coming. We love your hometown, by the way. Hi, how you doing?
Oh my god.
Hi.
I'm Alexis. I want to say I love you, and I'm gonna do this too. Can you give a quick hi to my brother Jason?
What's his name?
Jason.
Jason. Like Jason Blossom, Jason?
Yes.
Hi, Jason.
Because I remember when I was watching Riverdale, he walked home and he saw you and he's like, I love her.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
But my question for you is, for Veronica, what friendship do you want her to encounter more in season 3?
That's a good question. I really want Veronica and Tony to be friends.
Me too.
Yeah, right? I think they're both really strong and confident, and I think they'd be good together. They'd be quite the duo. I mean, they saved Cheryl together. That was like a nice... I spent a lot of time with Vanessa that episode, and I really love working with her.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about season 3?
I actually before I had the excuse, which was honest, of not knowing, but I actually just met with the showrunner and like we talked about everything. And it's really cool. It's like there's gonna be like, you know how every season we have like a funny, I actually don't know what it would be for season 1. But like season 2 was Jingle Jangle. What was season 1? There was like some kind of, I'm forgetting it. What? No. It's just like we always have like a weird sounding thing. Like Jingle Jangle was like a cheesy little like drug that we used. Anyway, there's gonna be like season 3's version of Jingle Jangle. Not that it's a drug. I just mean it more. I'm being really cryptic right now. It's more just like there's gonna be a mystery, and it has a kind of like a fun, there's like a fun catchphrase, like something that you'll be saying all the time kind of thing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful, there's snipers, you know.
Yeah.
You can't reveal too much.
I know.
You'll get in trouble.
I'll be in so much trouble.
Hi. What's your name?
Thalia.
Hi there. What a pretty name. Where are you from?
I'm from Oregon.
Welcome. Do you have a good question today?
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to be an actor when they're older?
I think just work really hard to understand the business outside of the art. Because I can't tell you how many people I knew in college who were like so talented, but they focused so much on the craft and being better artists that they never actually woke up to the reality of like having to get a job and work in the industry. And I remember, like NYU being as expensive as it is, it was shocking to me to see people come out still not knowing the difference between an agent and a casting director. So I feel like you have to do your research, like know that you need to get an agent. Like once you get an agent, you can actually start auditioning and getting a feel for the industry. And then the talent is already within you. Obviously, always work at it and try to be a better artist, but it's a waste of talent if you're not fiercely pursuing the work.
I interviewed one actor once, Frances McDermott, and she said you can learn to be a pilot, but you got to get yourself an airplane.
Yeah.
Like don't spend all your time learning how to fly without figuring out where you're
That's so accurate.
Yeah, I thought that was really
She's amazing.
Very insightful way to say it.
Yeah.
It's a great question, and best of luck if you want to be an actor.
Good luck.
Hey there. What's your name? Where are you from? And how's your day?
Hi, my name's Elise. I'm from here. I'm just really excited to be here right now. I'm sorry, but could you say hi to Grace Ann real quick?
Hi, Grace Ann. Did I say it right? Grace Ann?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Thank you. She got me really
She's
excited
thrilled.
about Riverdale, yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So my question is, you said you were into musicals. Do you have you did musicals in high school. Do you have a favorite that you did?
Yeah. The thing is, I was never really much of a musical theater kid in that I lived, breathed, and slept musical theater. But I do, out of the ones I've performed in, I really loved Light in the Piazza. I think Light in the Piazza is a beautiful, beautiful musical.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Everyone's like, what is that?
I saw 2 people applauded. 2 people love that.
2 people love Light in the Piazza.
Hey, how you doing? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Marin. I'm from Albany, Oregon.
Welcome.
And I was just wondering, who's your celebrity crush?
Ooh. My celebrity crush is Harry Styles.
It's pretty good. You ever heard his version of Landslide, the
His what?
Fleetwood Mac? You know?
No, I haven't.
Or the Chain. He does the Chain by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's worth checking out.
I just really fell in love with him after his last album.
It's a great album. Who's your celebrity crush?
That's a hard one. Harry Styles is pretty good.
He's a good one.
Uh-oh, now it's on.
No brainer.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
All right, have a great day. Hi, how you doing? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Central Texas.
Central Texas. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Before I ask my question, could you say hello to my sister Cadence, who's also
Sister Katie?
Cadence.
Cadence. Hi, Cadence.
Okay. As an up-and-coming thespian, what obstacles did you encounter, and what would you give advice for people who are encountering the same obstacles?
So maybe NYU or
Yeah.
what was the challenge for you?
What obstacles did I encounter? I think. Oh, I remember after I'd gotten my agent and I was auditioning a lot. I think as a Latino, you run into a lot of obstacles in the roles that you're going out for. And my thing is one, I'm Brazilian, I'm not Hispanic. You rarely see roles being written as Brazilian. They're usually Hispanic. And I would go out for a lot of roles, and in New York, they cast a lot of crime dramas. You know, it's a lot of Law and Order and Blue Bloods and Shades of Blue and Blue everything. And I don't know why it's all blue. And they would just, they were just looking for, the Dominican Republic, Bronx, Latinos. And there was the description would always be underprivileged, uneducated, whatever. There was just always a certain description that was just very stereotypical, and I think I just kind of ran into that problem a lot, that I always felt like the least Latino person or Latina person in the room.
Sure.
And I felt like I had to be more urban to fit their idea of what a Latino was. Right. So honestly, there was a point where I was like, do I need to wear hoop earrings? Do I need to braid my hair, do something to make me look more urban? And then I remember having this conversation with my agent because I was getting really frustrated. And they just they were like, no, keep being yourself. Keep, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And the right role will come. And that was Riverdale, where it wasn't a stereotype. And, not to say, the thing is, people, there are Dominican Republicans who are born and raised in the Bronx who can play that role and do a much better job than me. I think the biggest obstacle was learning to, not play a stereotype, or, not feel like you have to in order to get a role. I think I've come to terms with that.
Yeah.
Of just being, accepting of who you are and knowing that not every role is going to be right for you.
And that's part of
it. Yeah. And I don't want to play a role that I won't be able to do justice, that role should go to somebody else. And I think, I don't know, it's important to let go of that.
We have so many people watching on Facebook right now. Would you like to say hello to the folks in Brazil? Maybe say something in Portuguese?
Oi, Brasil! Tô com saudade de você.
I'm sure your likes just went through the roof. So, hi there. Where are you from?
My name's Brooklyn, and I'm from Kirkland, Washington.
Hi.
Brooklyn. How you doing?
My question is, what's the funnest part about filming?
Funnest part about filming, I wouldn't say it's one specific thing, but I think, it's just always fun. Our crew is amazing, and I'm close with a lot of them, and so after, especially, shout out to the crew members in sound, Mesh and Paul and Brian. They're my favorite people. Every time they call cut, I just walk over to the sound department, and we all just talk and mess around and make funny videos around the set. So I think it's just always fun. I think we try to make it fun as much as possible.
That's super. Thanks for that question. How you doing, Cap? Another Cap.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
What's
is
your
it
name?
ever, what?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What's your name?
Justin.
He just wanted to know where from Texas you were from, and
The Central Texas area.
oh, cool.
Is it ever difficult for you to get into character, feel the emotions that the character is supposed to be feeling?
Yeah, I think so. There's two things. There's, especially in the beginning, I think it was always like I had to think about it a lot more and like get into the zone. Now Veronica is very much like a mode that I can just turn on because I know who she is. But in terms of getting into emotional scenes, yeah, I definitely have to. I always have to like walk away from everyone and be alone. I don't want anyone talking to me, and it's hard because when they're about to call you to set, there's like makeup, they're touching you up, and everyone's kind of in your face, and you're like, I have this big scene coming up, but I have to like sit here and let someone touch my face, so it's hard to get that emotional place. But sometimes I have to be like, yo, touch me up on set, I'm gonna be over here, call me when you're ready to roll, and then I'll come in and do my thing. So I think it's just like there's an urgency when you have an emotional scene coming up. You're just like, I don't have a choice. Like I have to just go walk away, and I have to get to that place.
That's a great question. Thanks a lot. Hey there, how you doing?
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm from Kennewick, Washington, and I was wondering if you could switch lives with one of your co-stars for a day, who would you pick?
Switch lives with my co-stars.
Not in the show, but in real life.
Yeah, in real life.
In real life. Maybe KJ. Because I feel like he lives a very active lifestyle, and I just want to know what it feels like to be that ripped. Just like going to the gym all the time. Like I think he lives a very fun life too. He's very adventurous and active.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the New Zealander in him.
The Kiwi in him.
Mm-hmm.
Hey there, how you doing? Hi.
I'm Amelie.
And
I'm Afton.
Hi.
Hi. Where are you two from?
Mercer Island. It's like
Okay.
yeah. First, can you say hi to my friend Claire and Kendall?
Claire and
And Kendall.
Claire and Kendall. Hi, Claire and Kendall.
So what's your favorite co-star to work with? Like if you're filming an episode, who would you want to film it with?
I love working with Lily, and I feel like I don't, like season 2, we barely got to work together, which was really sad, and we're like hounding Roberto, our showrunner, for more Betty and Veronica scenes in season 3. But she's such an incredible actress, and I feel so, like when we do act together, we're so present, and she's just a great person to work off of, so I'd say Lily.
And if you could describe Riverdale in one word, what would it be?
the show or the place?
The show.
The show.
Subversive.
It's a great choice.
It's the word they use all the time in the log lines.
Yeah.
I'm not that original.
It's still a great word.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Kennewick, Washington.
Okay. What's your name and what's your question?
It's Kayla. I have 2 questions, sort of.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you say hi to my sister, Kiana?
Hi, Kiana.
Also, forgot my question. Wait, I have it.
That's okay.
Oh, if you could play any character in a movie or TV show, who would you play besides Veronica?
Ooh, that's a good question. Ooh. I have one, but I actually don't even know her name. The character, I forgot her character's name. But does anyone watch Mindhunter? No. It's a really good show. Anyway, there's like one of the female leads. I would want to play her. But no one watches it, so it doesn't even matter what I say at this point.
Well, there you go.
Is that? Thank you. Yeah.
All right. I think we have time for one more question. Hi there. What's your name and where are you from?
Clara, I'm from Seattle.
Hi.
Can you say hi to my friend Grace?
Hi, Grace.
And I was wondering, what's your favorite B&V moment?
Aw. I love it when we sneak into Miss Grundy's car. I think that scene was really fun to shoot because it's so Scooby-Doo, and she like pulls out the pin, and I'm like all frustrated and paranoid, and it's just really, I love our dynamic in that scene.
That's terrific. Well, what a great question. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, what a treat. What a great way to start the day here at Ace Comic-Con Seattle.
Thanks for
Can we
coming.
give it up for Veronica Lodge, one of the bright young stars on television, Camila Mendes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you guys later.